People are asking what this cage of tinfoil and metal is all about that's around me. It's a Faraday cage. A Faraday cage is a cage which emits no signal, and no signal can enter. And you can see here, it's all around, including the floor, all metal, and the ceiling. Why am I doing this? Why am I going to this trouble? Oh, in addition to the Faraday cage, we have an 8-channel scrambler, which you can see here, I hope, which prevents any signal from getting into this room or leaving this room, just in case the Faraday cage fails. Why am I doing this? Because I am an escaped slave. A slave to the system that escaped, and I have a loud voice. You think you're not slaves, but you are. The 9-to-5 existence of your current lives is structured by the American industrial corporate complex, complicit with our government. You need to free yourselves from this, not as me. You don't have to go out and risk yourself by speaking out loudly, but free yourselves. This is not what life is. This is not what life is. Life is a great mystery, a glorious, unbelievably mysterious, beautiful existence if you are free from those who control you, provide you with propaganda, lie to you, deceive you. Everyone is looking for this escaped slave. I will not be found, and I will continue to speak. Thank you for listening.
Today I want to talk about these next 5-6 months and how you can get prepared for you and your family. I want to go through all of the things to think about when it comes to the economy, when it comes to self-preservation, when it comes to food supply, when it comes to money supply, preserving your wealth, getting prepared in the most comprehensive way with what you have to offer. That's the basis of this show today. That's what I want to focus on, and I want to go into it. But first, couple house cleaning things. I don't like getting in too far with the distraction. I think the Iran, Israel, Palestine, as it is important in the microcosm, in realizing that it is being put in place to distort and distract. And if you understand, I talked about last week something called the economic hitman. And what the economic hitman is about, it's about dismantling a republic or a democracy from within for a very, 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 very small amount of money compared to a kinetic war. This is something that the CIA has been doing around countries all over the world. In fact, I'm going to play a little clip of what an economic hitman is. And this is just one side of the attack on the United States. But when we get into this debacle about Israel and Palestine, it is nothing more than a distraction and an excuse for them to ramp up continued chaos, to distort the political landscape, to keep us from unifying, to keep us from having real conversations, real debates, and try to corral us into these giant groups to where then we're easily controlled at that moment. And getting up into that, today I want to talk about, in this first segment, I want to talk about Robert F. Kennedy and how I feel about his campaign, how I feel about him running for president, things that have happened to him leading up to today and how they're trying to silence him, what caused him to leave the Democratic Party, and that is he a viable candidate? Now, before you make your assumption, a lot of people go, no, absolutely not. He'll never win. He'll never make it. There's not a way, there's not a possibility he can beat Trump. And you may be right. You may absolutely be right. Trump's political persecution, that seems to be constant since 2015. At around every headline is something along the lines of, this is it. This is the one. We finally got him this time. This is going to be the one that's going to put him in jail. This is going to be the one that's doing this. This is going to be the one that's doing that. Meanwhile, January 6th people are still locked up in solitary, over 800 of them. Some of them have never gotten a court date yet. Think about that. Those are Trump's people. Those are Trump's people. And what is he doing about it? Now they kind of have him over a barrel. Oh, you can't talk about those insurrectionists because then they'll do the 14th Amendment or whatever on him and try to, lock him up for being an insurrectionist. So I get the judgment, but look at what he's doing, right? How much has he said in the past 2 months? How much has he been talking about those people? Most of them just showed up and were led into the Capitol. I don't want to get too far into it, but I'm just saying it's definitely worth talking about. And this isn't a Trump bashing thing. I like Trump. I do think he does some really good things, but he does have some stains in his political career. COVID being one of them. COVID is a huge element in the state of the world that we're in and why we're facing some of the things that we are. They've been able to roll out this new tyrannical infrastructure in which they've talked about for 20 years on using a virus to consolidate wealth, consolidate markets, corral the public into a complicit position to where we don't have any other way but to choose their path. We will eat the bugs and we will like it. We will like it and do this. So keep in mind, we got to stop giving Trump an excuse on why things are going wrong for him. Now, there are a lot of saboteurs. There are a lot of people infiltrating. There are a lot of those things. I mean, we can see it firsthand in the Republican Party here in Oregon. A lot of infiltrators, a.k.a. Christine Drazan, right, who's running against James Hebe for no reason, who's in a majority Republican area, a very viable candidate. I'm actually supporting James. And now Christine comes in and is running a campaign against him and trying to primary him and putting millions of dollars in it with all the usual suspects, all the people that have been sitting and crapping on top of the Republicans for decades. But here's the thing, and this is the come to Jesus moment, right? How as Republicans, how are we going to continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and expect different results? Look at what happened with Michaela in Douglas County, right? They outed these people for asking questions. They're like, oh, no, we can't have you as leadership. You're bad leadership. When they're asking questions that are acting on behalf of the people. Questions that people want to know. Why is all this nefarious offshore money coming into the Republican Party? Who's it coming from? We aren't about that. That's not what the Republicans are supposed to stand for. So again, I ask, how much longer are we going to continue to think? I mean, we got to get out of the fantasy land of thinking that what our value systems are continuing to align with what the Oregon Republican Party is. If they're not going to listen to regular people, if they're not going to validate some real arguments, if they're not going to stand up with a backbone in this state against the Democrats and some of the Republicans, how can we support them? Why should we support them? Why should we give them any money if they're always just going to stab us in the back and never follow through? And they might gaslight us and say, well, we don't understand the landscape. Okay, cool. So politics is the only thing in the world that you have to compromise on all the time? Politics is the only thing in the world that you can't actually stand for something and see it through? Because in the business world, in the real world, that's how you get things done. That's how you develop leadership. That's how you develop real organizations, all that. But in politics, it doesn't work like that. We got to reach across the aisle. I was listening to Brett Baker, who's running for Secretary of State, I believe, Secretary of State. Yeah, Secretary of State, I think. Anyways, I was listening to him talk. He's like, yeah, he acts like he's going to be sneaky and trick the Democrats into compromising with him, and that's the only way that we can win. The guy is a silver tongue to me, and I don't trust him. I don't trust him. He says all the right things. You know, he's very active. You know, he claims that he worked for the Trump administration, which is great. Could be a badge of honor. It could be a stain. Because just because you work for the Trump administration doesn't give you a pass. We want to know what you did. We want to know what you're doing. We want to know where you're at. And just because you come out and say all the hot red buttons, but then at the same time you're saying, well, we need to compromise with the majority party. Okay. I understand that. But where do we get our victories at? And how is it if I have 2 peanuts and they have 1, and our compromise is I give them 1 of mine? How is that a compromise? They're just taking from you. They're just taking from you time and time and time and time and time again. And we vest our focus on these Republicans, jellyfish with no backbone, and we're getting burned every ounce of the way, all along the way, and never seeing any victories. And then the real people that are actually standing up and fighting and trying to restore order, restore transparency, restore integrity within the party, they're getting outed. They're getting manipulated. They're getting lied about. They're getting distorted and destroyed because they don't have funding. They're just house people. They're just regular folk, regular civilians. They don't sit on a computer all day and do politics. They have real jobs. They have families. They have all of these things. So how do we fight against them? That's a good question to ask, right? And so I don't want to get too far into this, but I do want to talk about RFK Jr. today, running as an independent. I did this poll on my Twitter last week, and it's been circulating all week, and I asked, who do you trust more, Trump or RFK Jr.? And you'd be surprised to know what the results are, because everybody says that RFK Jr. doesn't have a chance. Have you ever listened to anything that he really says? Do you actually know what his life has been? Do you actually know what he's talking about? He, to me, is better representing the people than Trump is. And I get it, that's going to get a lot of flack, whatever. Everybody's on the Trump train, blindly trusting Trump. We have to be careful about that, because all the criticisms that we give the Democrats for blind loyalty and, you know, how can you trust that guy and they're all unified and everything else, there's a similar slippery slope happening with the Republicans and the conservatives. And this is just a nice, healthy conversation that we all need to have when voting this coming election, because this could be the end of this republic and the end of the democracy if we don't figure this out and get bamboozled again because I believe 100% that this is the final days of this country if we don't take it back. We'll be right back.
It's time to unmask the truth and expose the lies. The occupied forces do not want you to hear this broadcast. Breaking through the censorship and delivering raw, unedited content, it's Joshua Michael with Non-Compliant America.
All right, welcome back, folks. Before we went to break, we were talking about the future of this democracy and the future of this republic. Because rest assured, this is a republic. This is not a real, true democracy. Right? We keep calling it that, and it gets distracting. So let's get back into it. I was talking about Robert F. Kennedy. Now, here's the thing. If you've already decided on who you're going to vote for in November, then your mind is not open enough. And maybe this conversation isn't for you. And you're going to be criticizing, you're going to think, oh, this, that, and the other, this guy, he's a Trump hater, anti-Trumper. Now, keep in mind, I have Trump bobbleheads, I have Trump napkins, I have Trump t-shirts, hoodies, special edition coins, everything. When it comes to Trump, I am the Trump guy. I love Trump, and I love what he stood for, and I love the things that he was saying 2015, 2016. I called him, like Ann Coulter did. I remember telling my mom and my brother in the kitchen, I said, Trump's going to win. There were still 17 people on the ticket, or 16. I said, Trump's absolutely going to win. And it was simple because of what he was talking about. He was talking about real topics. He was talking about the border. He was talking about saving jobs. He was talking about all the things in a way where we knew he was going to be able to do the job. And we saw it. We saw him do the job. And he did great. We had great prosperity, lowest gas prices in a long time. You know, a lot of people buying second homes, a lot of businesses expanding. You know, we saw it everywhere in industry. People were expanding. But then COVID happened. And it kind of handicapped him, right? And we get it to an extent. But here's another thing. When everybody says, oh, it's not his fault, it was Anthony Fauci. Yes, absolutely. The guy manufactured it, Bill Gates, people working on the back end, everything else. But isn't that why we put him in charge? So those people wouldn't be able to be in charge. So those people wouldn't be able to get their way. So those people wouldn't be able to do what they did. Because if you look at other countries, and I'll just say Mexico for one, during the lockdowns, everything else, how they handled the pandemic versus how the Trump administration handled the pandemic. We did not do a very good job. He wasn't the best leader. When he tells all 50 states, hey, we're going to give you emergency powers and you guys just decide what you want to do because I don't want to be ridiculed. Now, you can argue that they had him over a barrel with media, they've been demonizing, and by all means, I am not discounting that at all. It's a very challenging thing, very sophisticated gaslighting. We are one of the most sophisticated intelligence organizations countering against him to try to discredit him and undermine him. They were going after his family, his friends, his lifetime friends, his pastor. I mean, anything and everything. Imagine your life in a microscope, under a microscope for 8 or 9 years. Most people wouldn't be able to withstand the scrutiny. But that's part of the job. That's what he signed up for, and that's what we're fighting against. Now, I believe that the cavalry is coming. I believe people are starting to realize the dynamics and realize that they can't sit on the sidelines anymore. I absolutely believe that. I do believe, despite this black pill show and broadcast today, I absolutely believe there will be a prosperous future. Now, how far out that prosperous future is up to you. It's up to us. Do I think that we're in a position right now to withstand the oncoming tsunami that is going to overtake and destroy our republic. I do not think so. I do not believe so. I think enough distractions are happening. They have our number. They're going to play us like a fiddle into a tyranny, and we're going to undergo a tyranny like the world has never seen before, just like with COVID, and it's going to take years for us to get out of it. But I do think eventually that we will win. Now, I know that's not what you guys want to hear, which is why I want to base the rest of this show on the next segment. One, I want to play a little documentary about RFK because I really like what he's talking about. I like what he's done in his life. I like what he represents, and I like how he frames things. He frames things in a very logical way. Now, you can say he's a politician. He's been a politician his whole life. His family, politics, everything else. But really, he hasn't been. And if you look at some of the cases he's done as an attorney, going after Monsanto, going after ExxonMobil, GE, all these giant multi-million-dollar corporations on cleaning up water and making sure that, the vaccine adverse reactions are getting listed and people are getting paid for that and representing, going up against Big Pharma. He is the real candidate that we all wanted Trump to be. Because those are all the things that Trump talked about. Going after the deep state, this, that. But RFK has been doing it. And so let's not underestimate and kind of keep an open mind, because think about this. Remember that poll I talked to you about? I said, who do you trust more, Trump or RFK Jr.? 59% said Trump. 41% virtually said RFK. Now, you could say, well, Trump dominated that one. Yes, absolutely, right? But think about this. People are opening their minds to an idea and the possibility of an independent candidate. He was denied Secret Service. He's doing it all on his own. He's still out doing great work. And here's the thing. Whether he wins or loses, this is what I like about him. I don't think he's going to change his daily life. I don't think he's going to change what he does and who he's fighting for and who he is as a person. He's 70 years old. You know what I mean? And still one of the most fit 70-year-olds I've ever seen. Doing pull-ups, push-ups, still surfing. It's crazy. But I want you guys to understand this is the future of America. And so what kind of future do we want? What kind of future do we need? Well, that's going to be up to us. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the formal state of Oregon in FEMA Region 10, it's your host, Joshua Michael.
All right, welcome back, folks. Shout out to Huckleberry. The song's dedicated to you, buddy. Hey, okay, so I want to play a little quick documentary about RFK Jr., then I want to get into things that we want to think about on survival, because we got to start thinking about that. The carpet's about to get ripped out from under us, I would say, probably by September 15th is my prediction, and maybe not soon, or maybe sooner, but I think that's going to give them enough time to maintain control and to do their coup, whether it be the Biden administration. My prediction is going to be Big Mike, Michelle Obama, is going to be running things by the end of the summer. Joe Biden, whomever he is, I don't even think it's the real Joe Biden, is going to have a stroke or something and say, hey, I got to step down for health issues, yada, yada. Okay, so in that, we'll be in the midst of some real chaos. And keep in mind, folks, when the trucks stop, it takes about 3 days for the store shelves to be empty. 3 days. And it's only a matter of time until the power goes off. We got a very weak power grid. We have a very vulnerable infrastructure. And so as people stop going to work, stop doing maintenance, stop looking at stuff and following up with different things, eventually infrastructure and the complexities that we live, and the calmness that we have, and all these luxuries, because they are luxuries. Power is a luxury. Having a flushing toilet is luxury. Clean water, that's a luxury. All of these things that aren't normal in civilization, that aren't normal in everyday life in nature, right? You have ponds and creeks and all these landmines in the world. If we were to go out and live out in nature, there's all these landmines that kill animals, they kill people, it just all types of poisoning, different things to look out for. There's a vast amount of knowledge and information of things that you need to learn. So it's important to get prepared for that. Call me extremist, call me crazy, call me whatever you want. The fact is I absolutely believe to my core that this is going to happen, and they're going to pull it this year. And the reason that I say that is because we already see they have already started the same thing that they started in 2020, except this isn't going to be people getting paid to hang out at home and go to Home Depot and work on their shower. This is going to be, hey, there's no more shower tile at Home Depot. You're not going to be able to do that. Plus, there's no money coming in. Oh, by the way, you've been replaced by AI, and you don't have a job anymore. There's just no market share there. Because let's be honest, I don't care what the jobs report says. I don't care what the stock market says. I don't care what any of that says. It could tell me we're at the highest stock market ever, and our country is doing amazing. I can look around, and I just need to walk around and engage in this society, and it's not. Don't be gaslit because the news is telling you. Here's what's so interesting. And then I'm going to play a short little documentary about RFK, and then the next segment we're going to do survival stuff. Here's what's so interesting to me. In 2019, end of 2019, leading up to the pandemic, CNN's approval ratings was at like 9%. They were getting called out every which way that they went. Fake news, CSNBC, MSNBC, CBS, all the major news outlets were clearly so full of crap in everything they were reporting. The American people were rejecting them in droves. Even Fox News, which is dead to me now. If you still watch Fox News, good for you. Good for you. You got a little bit of innocence you want to maintain in your life and not come to reality in the fact that they are gaslighting and lying to you too. They don't care about you. They're going to tell you non-stories to get you distracted talking about some country on the other side of the planet. So you're worried about that, and you're not worried about the millions and millions and millions of people getting shipped into this country right now, stealing everything, ransacking, getting $1,200 a month from our state, sleeping on the streets, robbing, pillaging, plundering. Oh, man, I got so many stories. Friend of mine, it's a girl and her daughter. We're at Fred Meyer's on Market Street, and this is the second incident that I've heard at that place. If you single women or any women shopping at Fred Meyer's on Market Street, better beware, because that is a hot spot. And I'll tell you why. Because it's right next to the I-5 corridor, which is one of the most child sex trafficking rings that exist is I-5. And that spot right there is a hub for a national trafficking ring. I can't tell you how I know this. That spot right there, Salem, Oregon. Mark my words. Let me tell you the story really fast, because this is important. This could save lives. This woman and her daughter's probably 13. They were getting followed around by men in, I don't know what ethnicity they were. But you know the MO. They're sitting on their phone, they're walking around, pretending to shop, but they're all talking to each other, and they're all on a group call. And what they do is they go around, they look for vulnerable people, and they follow them, and they snatch them in the parking lot, or they follow them from the parking lot. This has happened 2 separate times. Same location, Fred Meyer on Market Street. It's on Market, right? Yeah, Market. This is happening, folks. They were going to get trafficked. They were going to get kidnapped. These guys were following them. One time, another time, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but she was followed also. They followed her out of the parking lot. And if it wasn't for me, barreling down the road, about to ram that car, who knows what would have happened? Who knows how big the ring is? Understand, these people are very powerful. They make a lot of money trafficking kids and trafficking people. That's a big industry. P. Diddy, Jeffrey Epstein. Do I need to tell you more? So that's an important element to think about. We have to get prepared. We have to be prepared for everything. So the first thing I asked her, I was like, hey, do you have your concealed carry? Nope. I'm going to get it now. Okay, cool. Good idea. That's a great thing. You might be able to help somebody else in the future too. Everybody should be armed all the time because you never know. And they're letting in anybody and everybody, unfiltered, unvetted. Think about this. Think about this. Imagine taking your door off your house and just have a sign that says, come on in, we got food. We got shelter. Take my clothes. No problem. I'm just going to be here. And then somebody comes in and steals your stuff. And you're like, what? What is that? Why did you do that? Well, your door was open. These people just take it upon themselves to do that. And I'm getting off on a tangent. But this is happening, folks. It's happening in our backyard. It's going to continue to happen because of our spineless leadership and the inability to find and vet and allow the Republican Party and the good candidates, the people that actually will stand up for you, the people that actually have morals and have values and are actually doing what they say that they're going to do, stop getting outed and attacked by these predator groups. So anyways, I want to talk real quick before we go to break. I want to talk about this new organization that was just newly formed called Oregon Gun Rights. Oregon Gun Rights is not Oregon Firearms Federation. It's some mysterious organization that just popped up because Michaela Marie was basically asking a good question. There's this candidate running named Christine Goodwin who's backed by, all these people. She asked a question. She's like, hey, can you tell us about this PAC? How did Christine Goodwin get an endorsement from your PAC before your organization was even created? So this lady had a flyer that said that she was endorsed by Oregon Gun Rights. We looked up Oregon Gun Rights. We couldn't find it. So it started to break on the internet on X, and everybody's asking questions. Well, who's Oregon Gun Rights? We asked Kevin Starrett. He's like, I don't know who these guys are. They aren't even a PAC. They aren't even Oregon. Well, lo and behold, a little more than a week ago, all of a sudden, this organization was formed called Oregon Gun Rights. And if you go to their website, it's really interesting because all they do is have these little blanket generalized statements that don't really make a lot of sense. And they're just endorsing these candidates. We endorse this guy. We endorse this guy. We endorse this guy. So then they blocked Michaela for asking the question. She says, can you tell us a little bit about your PAC? How did she do it? And then she followed up and said, any comment on this? It's not a good look. Oregon Republicans demand integrity. Please review the party platform. We deserve answers. Please let us know. Right? Then she followed up with a question. Boom. They blocked her. Right? So then yesterday, I went on Oregon Gun Rights. I followed them. And I was like, hey, what's up with this? Where'd you guys come from? Who are you? What do you stand for? What's your organization about? And you're endorsing all these candidates, but it's really misleading. It's kind of like Black Lives Matter. It's really misleading in regards to what the actual organization is. So that sounds like a good, healthy organization, Oregon Gun Rights, but they're not. It's a front group for them of these anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment candidates to prey on the public to make them think that they're actually Republicans and conservatives and care about the Second Amendment. Let's not be fooled, folks. Let's not be fooled, folks. Do not be fooled by these guys.
We making all of this money.
Be right back.
Yeah, I know it's rude to be bragging. They never catching us lagging. Me and my buddy, we working hard for this money.
All right, I'm back. Last segment. You know, sometimes if it were up to me, I would just start a new party, call it the American Party. Because sometimes I get so frustrated with these damn Republicans that claim to be Republicans and they're not. It just gets really frustrating to even, have to collaborate with them. When we know deep down, especially somebody that's involved, especially somebody that sees this stuff firsthand all the time, probably more than you guys, the average listener, in the fact that these guys are phonies. They're fake. They're just red herrings. They're not actually doing what they say that they're going to do. They're selling you a bag of goods to get money, to stay in office, stay in power, and cut deals with these corporations and companies and NGOs on the back end, instilling additional policies and fronting new policies. For example, most of the bills that are being presented by any of these elected officials, the bills are written by the lobbyist groups, by the companies and corporations pushing the bills. They just put their name on it because they need the vessel to put forward it. That's pretty dishonest if you think about it. And there's all these bills that there's no way that one person can vet through them and really understand what they all are. Why do we need new bills every single cycle? Think about this. I get doing a couple little modifications here and there, but they're just ramming stuff down our throat all the time. It's so hard to keep up. So that's kind of where I'm at because, the Oregon Republicans, man, you guys need a lot of help. And for people that are just simply trying to stand up and have an opinion and do the right thing are getting attacked and the other Republicans aren't backing them up, it's a sad day. It's a sad day because I know some of these people, they're good people and really just trying to help. And it's sad that you guys get caught up and have no integrity and have no backbone to stand up for these people because they deserve our support. And we deserve to get fresh faces in this party. We deserve to have new, fresh faces, some fresh legs in this party. We don't want the business as usual. If you've been in politics for 15, 20 years and you've been in this party and you've been doing this stuff, we don't want you anymore. You've been shown to be incompetent. Unless you're very outspoken, like a Dennis Littacum or something like that, which he shows where he's at. He's very savvy. He's very on the cusp with what people want. And I'm sorry I didn't get into some of the survival stuff. I'm really sorry. I'm going to do a special podcast, I think, this week, and we're going to go over stuff. But you guys got to understand, we have to get prepared. We have to get prepared. One of the best things to do to preserve your wealth is buy gold and silver or Bitcoin. If you don't know how to do Bitcoin, don't even get into it. Go buy gold or silver. It's tangible. Don't store it in a safe. You want to get an old tractor. If you got some property, get an old tractor, like a Kubota or something like that, just a small little tractor, and then put some seeds in the ground right now. Do some YouTube. Spend some time this weekend. Do some digging. Get some seeds. You want some non-heirloom seeds. Get them in the ground right now. And start practicing on how to grow your own food. Maybe go take a drive around. Go find some cattle farmers. Find some butchers. Talk to them about produce. Talk to them about meat. It's very important. The other thing is alternative power. It's very important to have a need and know what your power consumption is going to be. If you don't have a wood-burning stove in your house, maybe look at getting one. I'm sure that Home Fire Stove would be happy to sell you something right now, especially as we're going into the summer months. You might be able to get a better deal, right? Who buys a wood stove in the summer? Not most people don't. So maybe there's some bargaining powers there. But having a wood stove is easy because you can always get wood, heat your house, even if you have no power. Yes, I said no power. That's a possibility. We've seen what's coming. We've seen what they're willing to do. We've seen what they're willing to do with 9/11. We've seen what they're willing to do with all these other incidents with COVID. 22 million people dead now from the shots from COVID. 22 million, and nobody's talking about it. You think these people care about you? You think this is going to happen? No. You have to protect yourself. You have to be self-sufficient. If you're in the city limits, start looking at getting out. You got one summer to sell your house and go find something out of the city limits, because I think the city limits are going to be hellholes. Because we all know the city is not going to protect you. The police will be overran. They care more about writing traffic tickets than they do about actually fighting crime and cleaning up the streets. They're pulling grandmas over for using their cell phone while driving or talking on the phone while they're driving versus real issues. They'll have some homeless guy defecate right in the middle of the streets, right in front of them. They don't care. They don't arrest that guy. They don't do anything about it. Oh, but they're going to go get their $275 ticket from that guy that didn't use his blinker when he turned on a red light. So understand, these people are not going to protect you. You have to protect yourself. So alternative power, that's a big one. Clean water is ginormous. Recently, I bought a water distiller system. Haven't got it yet because they're back-ordered 8 weeks because the demand is real. But getting a water distiller, everybody's like, oh, don't drink distilled water because it doesn't have any minerals in it. Well, guess what? All you do is you can get there's some good salts you can get, some real mineralized salts from Mexico that you just put into the water after you distill it. Boom, now you got pure, healthy drinking water. Because just understand, most filters, a Brita filter, is not going to filter out the chemicals. Most filters are not going to filter out the chemicals. Reverse osmosis is good, but a distilled system will pull out all of the chemicals. And that means all the chemicals that they don't test for, all the chemicals that they don't account for, that's in our water table, that's in all these pharmaceuticals. They don't break down. They get into the water table, then they get into your body, and then they get into your food, and they get into everything else. So finding wood supplies, power sources, that's a very important one. Water supply is a very, very important thing because we can't live without water. The other thing is you want to think about defense. How are you going to defend yourself? How are you going to defend your family? I highly suggest that you run a barbecue or something like that. Invite all of your neighbors. Don't tell them a lot. Just keep it very, very vague. Keep it very vague. But get to know them. See what they're about. Ask them questions. Hey, what do you guys think about this? What do you think about that? Right? Learn their personalities. Learn where they're at. And you're going to be able to decide very quickly what side of the fence that they are on, how they're going to behave, what kind of person they are. Did they roll up in a Tesla in their slippers to come to your party? That guy probably doesn't know how to change a tire. Just going to say. Probably not going to be dependable when it comes to needing things and having things to get done in a survival scenario. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I know I kind of went off on some different things, and by all means, I'm just simply trying to ask real questions because I am genuinely concerned about the future of this state. And this country, I think, is going to be fine overall. But I think we are in one of the worst states that's going to fall harder than most. And so we have to get prepared, folks. You have to get prepared for all of the unknowns, all of the things out there that we don't know, and find out who's who and start asking real questions. You're listening to Joshua Michael, Non-Compliant America. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, watch your 6, Please like and subscribe. noncompliantamerica.com. Follow me on X at noncomplianceus. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.